Oh, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We have come through a lot together, but I wanted to tell you today that it's not new. I keep telling you that. I'm 85 years old and I've seen a lot, and I know that this too shall pass. The other day I was counting. How many pandemics do I know about? Some were before my time, but equal to today's pandemic. Very much so. Many people died. But I remember a great deal of that 15. I remember how they came and went. I have a bump on my arm. It's not on my arm anymore. It's in my back now because I've lived so long. But it came from a shot, an immunization shot when I was a year old for the influenza pandemic. And that shot stayed with me in a bump about as big as your little finger for all my life. And it moved as I grew. And it is now in my back. But it's a reminder of the influenza pandemic in the 30s. Now we have a pandemic in the years 2000. But it will go and come, and I'm not belittling it because it's bad, it's terrible, but it too shall pass. Things that don't pass as quickly are that was someone calling me who I don't want to talk to. Anyway, I was saying that there are things that do not pass as quickly. From day one, when we were brought over here as slaves, it was determined that in order to make us into slaves and to keep us down, because we were very strong people, was to make us feel unworthy, to make us into someone who had no power, who had no strength to fight back. And I saw that happen to my father, who was a very, very strong man. I mentioned him before. Because we were so poor that he needed to live on somebody else's land in order to raise us. And he raised us 5 girls with our stepmother. And we were sharecroppers. All 5 of us were very bright. Very bright. And I had an IQ that was way above other people because I read all the time, everything I could get my hands on. And I was just naturally a smart person. But we had to do what we had to do in order to survive, to fight another day. And I want to take this time, I don't want to talk about Trump and about people, segregation and all of that. I want to tell you a story. And it comes out of my book. And it'll take me the rest of this time to read it to you. My book is My Ancestral Voices, and you should get it and read it yourself because there's a lot in it about what's going on today. Now, this story is called, and the book is in stories. It's not chapters, it's stories about things that happened. And this story is The Color of Freedom is Red. One year on the 4th of July, when we thought we were free to celebrate the holiday, the landowner told Daddy that he would give him credit if he hoed out his cotton patch. We worked in our own fields 5 days each week and had not anticipated this request. We felt free to enjoy the day's release from working in the fields. My sister and a friend who lived 2 miles further down the road from Holly Spring Baptist Church. The church was 6 miles from where we lived. Adding 2 more miles made the journey 8 miles one way. We were used to walking anywhere we went and thought nothing of walking 16 miles in one day. Mabel's friend had invited us to her house to eat dinner, and she had promised to have fried chicken and cake. We would walk anywhere for fried chicken and cake. We 4 sisters, my oldest sister was married, got up early this morning, did our chores, and got dressed to walk to the house of my sister's friend. We hurried away from home knowing the work was always present around the house, and if we didn't hurry, something would show up needing our attention. We took the shortcut through the woods and over 2 creeks where snakes were known to inhabit the wetlands. We ran the first mile, chasing each other and celebrating our freedom. Suddenly, we heard a shrill whistle. It was Daddy's signal that he used to call us from a distance of as far as 3 miles. We grabbed one another and began to cry. We knew our freedom was short-lived, and Daddy was calling us back to the house. First, one of us suggested that we could continue on our journey and tell Daddy that we did not hear him. Our sense was that Daddy would harness a mule and ride us down. We would receive terrible whippings for not having heard him. Reluctantly, we turned back. Over the creek and through the woods, we traveled back to the house, no longer free, but bound to whatever was before us. We trudged back up the hill to the house. Daddy met us at the door and said, "Change your clothes. The landowner wants you to hoe out a patch of cotton today." It was obvious that our stepmother had tried to dissuade Daddy from calling us back, as she was sullen and quiet when we returned. We changed into our work clothes, old shirts and torn dresses, and headed for the field. By the time we arrived in the field, the sun was already high up in the sky, and it was as hot as blazes. We cried as our sisters talked about how mean Daddy was to take our one day of rest and fun and make us work for the white landowner. As it turned out, neither our work nor Daddy's nor stepmother's work made a difference at the end of harvest. According to the landowner, we still owed more than we made. While we toiled, hoeing the grass from under and around the landowner's cotton stalks, evading the big horned caterpillars that inhabited the leaves, and feeling demoralized and unloved, we observed the white landowner's daughter as she emerged from the big house. We became more angry as we were hoeing out her cotton. It seemed to us that she should be in the field doing her own work. Instead, she yelled something back at the house and jumped into her red convertible Ford and sped off down the dirt road. I watched her as she drove fast, evading the dust swirls that chased the car in its wake. Her speed was sufficient to keep the dust at bay. She seemed to be escaping from something that would, if she did not move fast enough, hold her back in bondage. She sped along like a bird, flying free. I thought I longed for that freedom. I wanted to fly down the road and away from the cotton field. We learned in school that the 4th of July is a federal holiday in the United States that commemorates the adoption of the Declaration of Independence that occurred on July 4th, 1776. Vivian was a recipient of that freedom. Obviously, we were not. We continued to hoe until the middle of the afternoon when Daddy came to the field and told us that we had done a good job and that we could rest. I never forgot that event. From day on, I envisioned the metaphor for freedom as a red convertible flying down the road, outrunning everything that could hold it back. To me, the color of freedom was red. Take that to heart. The color of freedom was the color of her car as she sped down the road and as we hoed out her cotton. There's more to that story in the book. It follows this girl to when she got old and when we were successful and had education and position in our lives. Read the book and find out what happened. And it's a true story, not made up. Got real names, real everything. The color of freedom. We need to know that today so we can all exhibit our love of freedom and let no one take it from us. God bless you. Now, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, you'll hear more about freedom and rights. Go to your podcast and look for Daily Sparks with Dr. Angela and find the link to my interview, My Ancestral Voices, and listen to me relate issues from the past, present, and future to provide answers for today's living. Also, you can purchase my book. I was just talking about it, My Ancestral Voices, through Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Google Play, and Apple iTunes. Get the cheaper version. We're working on trying to get that book price of it down. I never agreed with the price of it. Get the cheaper version, but read it and put it in your arsenal to show the path we're on to real freedom for all. God bless you.